Welcome to Santos on Sports alongside Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. Great to have you looking in today. We are sponsored by Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River, citywide glass with 3 locations to serve you at 425 State Road in Dartmouth, another location in Fall River and Taunton, Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville, and John Seed, attorney at law, 156 8th Street in New Bedford. And you can check out his website at johnseedlaw.com. Chris, how are you today?
I'm well, Paul, because I'm 3-1 right now with a backup quarterback with another solid game out of him, not making too many errors. Another division game against Washington, always tough when you play your division team. So right now, I like the way things are going. Big test this week when we play the Rams, who just got beat last night by San Fran. So they'll be looking for really to take it to us. This will kind of tell me a lot how well Cooper Rush really is against a good Rams team. And then see if he lasts another week or it's time to make the next move over to Dak Prescott. How are you doing, Paul?
Well, I could be doing better because your Cowboy team is 3-1, as you just said, and
Yep.
the Patriot team really should be 2-2, but they're not. They're 1-3, and that's
Okay.
because even though Green Bay on paper and everything else, home team in that game the other day, they're the favorite and everything. They should have won the game. Green Bay should have won the game. They ended up winning the game, but it was just so frustrating. It was there for the taking. It was there for the taking, right at the end of regulation, and especially in overtime. The thing that drove me crazy is the Patriots held Rodgers after they won the toss. They get the ball back. They got a nice special teams return down on the 49-yard line. They run the ball at 2nd and 5. 2nd and 5. You're one first down away from going for the jugular and winning the game. And what do? Just keep running the same play over again and plowing into the pile. They expect them to run. Would have been a perfect time to draw up something, a play action pass, or dump it off to the side. You've got to get the first down there. And they played not to lose. And that was a surprise to me because, as much as we criticize those assistant coaches and all that, you still have Bill Belichick there. At that point in time, if they had gone for it and lost, you say, all right, at least we went for the jugular. But they just kind of lay there and try to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and they never got that first down. They had a chance. I know there were a lot of places in the game where they could have done this and they could have done that. And you had the backup quarterback, and we could go through the entire game. But in the end, in overtime, they had them on the ropes, and they just didn't feel like they really went for it there. You know what I mean? It feels like they just could have gone for it, been a little more aggressive. What do you think? Am I off on that, or do you think we're onto something there?
So are you saying offensive coordinator? Are you saying play calling? Are you saying, you have yourself a third string quarterback in the game at this particular time who you do not want to have him make mistakes and cause a turnover and give Green Bay, a good field position. But at that time, Paul, I think you're right. You're on the road. You have a chance to win this game. You're in the overtime. This is your opportunity to steal one. This is for you to go get it. I know it's a third string quarterback, but I think you have to come up with better play calling at the end of that game to produce something and have a chance to pull the win off. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I thought it was a great defensive game from the Patriots. I thought they kept Rodgers in check the entire game. They gave him nothing underneath. If he had to make completions, he had to go long. And then unfortunately for New England, you lost your starting quarterback, obviously with an injury, and that's Brian Hoyer to go down. So there were some tough times on that offensive line. And I know me and you talked about that during the game, but I thought Isaac Wynn had a very bad game, let some sacks in, and really did not create enough offense on his side. And that obviously Hoyer got injured on that play because of him. At the same time, I thought Strange played pretty good. They were showing him a lot on replays, and he looked solid. So they had their ups and downs. But yes, it was there for the taking. When you're on the road like that, you got to go try to get it. You didn't realize you were going to have a third string quarterback. It is what it is, but it was a good game. Paul, let's remember now, you play in quarters. And this is the way the Patriots look at it. Their first quarter is now over. Their 4 games are done. They're going to look at the next 4. And I told you about the next four coming up, who they have in games like Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, and the Jets. Here's a chance to make a move. Remember, the New England Patriots were 1-3 last year and still made the playoffs. Don't count them out yet.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm looking at that game yesterday, or actually Sunday
Sunday.
now. I'm thinking to myself, do I feel better about the Patriots or do I feel worse about the Patriots? I felt good about what they did. They established the run. They got some pretty good efforts from Cole Strange, who was blocking
Yep.
very well. That was probably his
Yep.
best game so far. The
Yep.
offensive line was doing better, not only protecting but blocking for the run. Now you can, kind of look at Green Bay and saying, hey, maybe you could have keyed on the run a little bit more too. But again, they were getting some good runs out of Harris, again, some good runs out of Stevenson.
Yep.
I got to tell you, they were definitely moving the ball on the ground. And then obviously, if you move the ball on the ground, then you can do the play action and all that. I mean, they were trying not to go too crazy with Zappy. But the fact that they could take this team right down to a 24-24 tie in overtime,
Yep.
certainly something to feel good about. But the problem is that, you know, again, it's just so frustrating because the game was right there for the damn taking, and they could be 2-2 right now. Now 1-3, you say, well, okay, they got the Lions, Browns, Bears, Jets, and Colts, and then the Jets again. But I got to tell you, the Jets are 2-2. Now you could say, well, it's still the Jets. Yeah, it's still the Jets, but even the Lions are better than they used to be. The Browns, these teams aren't like complete doormats. You know what I mean? So these games are not, there's this easy stretch in the schedule. I don't know. I think an argument to be made or can be made that some of these teams they're they've improved.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they haven't improved. They have, and I think the Patriots had looked good in this one, and I think they can take what they've learned from the Green Bay game. Of course, there's no moral victories or anything like that. They just want to get through and get home, and now play Detroit. And yeah, Detroit, still can't find ways to win ball games. And when you're giving up like 43 points or whatever it was to Seattle, now you're going to New England. Let's see what they can do there outdoors, a tougher environment. I think that one's going to be a tough game for Detroit. I think New England can hold their own. The problem you have to worry about now is who's healthy, who's not. It can Hoyer come back? Is Mac Jones coming back? Or is this the Zappy era? And then you sit back and say, okay, we got to find someone to back him up just in case he goes out now. So, that's the big decision in my eyes coming into this week, where Zappy can get more reps than obviously what he's had compared to Hoyer and Mac Jones. Or is Mac ankle getting better? Or are they going to go outside and say, hey, maybe someone else is available and let's put him on the roster and see what happens. So I think that's their big concern right now. Who's going to lead this team on the offense?
I'm gonna tell you, I think it'd be real tough to bring somebody in, even if it's a veteran, because now that person's going to learn the offense that they've been working on, and they would have to get the reps in there and all that. So I don't know. I got to tell you, obviously we got to see, like you said, what's going on with Hoyer, what's going on with Zappy. But let me ask you this: I'm looking at Zappy, right? And I'm looking at Hoyer, and I'm looking at Zappy, and I'm looking at Mac Jones. Um, Zappy is in the second coming of Tom Brady, but I really didn't notice that much of a drop off with him in there. You know what I mean? So, like, how much weaker are we with Zappy than we were with Mac Jones? I mean, Mac Jones has kind of been, he's been okay, and I'm a big supporter of Mac Jones because I felt that they really made his job difficult in year two. But I don't know, Zappy, I thought he looked pretty good.
Well, you have a pecking order for a reason, and the reason is that Mac's number one, Hoyer's two, and Zappy's three. If Zappy was strong enough with his arm strength, if he was that accurate, if he was that poised, then I would assume he would be starting in front of Mac. But that's the way they have it listed. But the guys did say he was very confident in the huddle. He made a couple of decent throws, as Hoyer made a couple of decent throws. There was a catch there that I thought Aguilar should have had, and he dropped the ball. That would have led to another first down over midfield. That would have helped them out, and said they had to punt after that series. But he made up for it afterwards with a good catch for like 21 yards, and then they ran one in. So that helped along the way. So you start to get the correlation between quarterback, receivers, running backs. You got all that. You got to put together more reps, with the first starters. So let's see if that's the way they're going to stick with it and use him until one of the other guys says, hey, I'm ready to get back in there.
All right, well, give us a call. You see the number at the bottom of the screen, 774-762-6234. What did you think about that game over the weekend, the Patriots in Green Bay, and where the Patriots stand right now? I got to tell you, there was one time you and I were texting during the game, and I was trying to text to you, throw the damn ball, throw the damn ball. He kind of held the ball, held the ball, held the ball. And if you just got rid
Yep.
of it, he took that sack. He just stood there way too long.
Right.
And I was about to type to
Right.
you, throw the damn ball. And all of a sudden, bzz, here comes this text from Chris. And I look at it, it's like, throw the damn ball. You and I were thinking the same thing.
Yep.
Like, that was a couple of, rookie mistakes there. You got to give him credit for standing in there and taking the hit and
Yep.
everything. There was a couple of times I'm thinking, get rid of it, get rid of it. Did it come? Get rid of it, get rid of it. Boom, And that hurt him. But again, that's the inexperience probably and the lack of the reps. And that's something that, is a consideration in the decision, weighing like Max 75% and Zappy's 100%. You're better off with Zappy at 100% as opposed to Mac at 75%. And then what about Hoyer? What percentage are you getting out of him? So all those factors have to weigh in there. But yeah, Zappy made a lot of mistakes. And then looking at the film, I guess guys were open that he didn't see and stuff like that. But I remember that one time where I thought, just get rid of the ball, Zappy. What are you doing? Just get rid of the ball.
Well, they always say as a QB, you have to have that mental clock in your head. And I believe the average is 3.5 to 5 seconds of time that you have before you should get rid of the ball. If you have longer than that, then that's an outstanding play by your offensive line because it doesn't happen, that frequently. And that particular time, he happened to just take too long. He went with his first two reads. Then by the time he got to his third, it was too late, and he got sandwiched there. But I go back prior to that where Wynn's issues really hurt them, and I text you that and said right now after these first two series, Paul, if you remember, I text you the offensive line is killing them, and I said that to you because I did not like the way Hoyer was getting hit, he was getting sacked, and how the pressure was coming. So they needed to defend that better. It got better as the game went on. I believe Wynn was out, Cannon was in. They made some switches, so that kind of helped, but not for the first couple of series, which they were looking pretty good driving down there until those situations happened.
Well, a little bit what Chris thinks. A little bit what I think. The question is, what do you think? Let's go to the phones right now. Hello, you were on Santos on Sports.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. How are you?
Pretty good, very good, very good. So I'm not as optimistic as I once was here. I thought 2-2. I really thought that they would.
Oh, are you there?
I thought they blew the game against Baltimore, and I thought they had although they went with their third string quarterback. They were competitive, but that's a moral victory. I'm more into actual victories here. I'm starting to lose a little bit of confidence in this year's New England Patriots, and especially now the third string quarterback. We need to get Mac Jones healthy. He's our first stringer. He's the best bet, and it's not looking good right now with the offensive line. I thought the defense played well, but they got to figure out a way how to get some wins here.
I told Paul earlier that the Patriots were 1-3 last year at this same time, and they kind of turned it around. And supposedly they're supposed to have some better players, even though you don't have maybe the quarterback that you want in there. But I think this next 4-game stretch right here, Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago, and the Jets, that 4 right there is going to tell me how good that this New England team can turn it around. Even though they were 1-3 last year, they have to do it in these next 4 games.
The thing is, though, that they really have to run the table. We have to have this team win like 4 in a row. That even if it's against opponents,
they could be 3-1, Paul, and be 500 and still be okay.
What do you think, Butch? Do you think that this team can put together a string of victories like that?
Not with a third string quarterback. No, I don't. Nope. I don't. I mean, I could be wrong, of course. I thought they were going to go 2-2 in the first 4, so that's how much I know. But I thought they had their opportunities. But they just didn't capitalize. No, I don't. I don't think with the third string quarterback that they can get it done. I don't. I agree with you. What you said, Paul. looking back on some film, he missed some open guys. You got Aguilar dropping balls. Holding on to the ball was a killer, taking sacks. I mean, I don't even think that's rookie mistake. I guess it is, but I mean, you're in the NFL. Throw the thing out of bounds. Yeah, it was just third string quarterback. Everybody's happy right now, and it's crazy. Just he did what he did. I mean, he did it. It felt like he injected a little bit of life into people. He wasn't terrible, I guess I should say. But he's a third stringer for a reason. As Chris said, there's a pecking order. And he was third on the list. If he was that good, he'd be in there. And unfortunately, I think for the Patriots,
that's correct,
because there's no other alternatives.
Well, I got to ask you a question because,
in my opinion,
go ahead, Chris.
Now, Paul, I mean, I think, whether it's him or Hoyer, or even if Mac makes it back, if they go 3-1 in this next stretch and come out of that 4-4, I think I could be happy with that, then taking the next phase. If they go 2-2, obviously 1-3. But if they get lucky and go 4-0, that would be outstanding. But I think they can, still with what they have, can make 3-1 against those teams that are coming up, because I don't think those teams are that strong.
Even if Mac Jones isn't in there, suppose Mac Jones isn't in there.
Yeah, I still think they can, whether it's Hoyer or Zeppi. I think they can manage the game, and the defense can help out with a good run game and do what they need to do. If they can play like that in Green Bay, I'm sure they can play home like that to Detroit, home like that to Chicago, on the road at Cleveland, and the Jets for one game. I think they can do that. Make it 3-1, be 4-4, and then see what happens after that.
Hey, Butch, what did you think of that overtime when the Patriots had the ball 1st and 10 at their own 49 after that great special teams return and after stopping Aaron Rodgers that first time, and then they just kind of fizzled,
Yeah, it just, I'm no coach, and I'm not going to compare myself or even criticize, some of the play calling, but I just thought with all that running the ball, on first down play action, it was the time to take a risk. I really thought that was the time to take the risk. And the first down play action, somebody might have bit, and we could have got into field goal range. But they just went 3 and out. Just those 3 running plays right up the middle, even. It was disappointing a little bit. I get it. I get it, but it's overtime, so it's not like you're not trying to lose the game. You're trying to win. You made it into overtime. There's no other option,
Then you get that sinking feeling that when they had to punt, even though they buried Rodgers back and he had to go the length of the field, you just kind of knew. You just kind of knew that the game was over.
And all they needed was a field goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not even like they got to march down and get a touchdown. And it was over. I just thought the play calling was extremely conservative. I mean, I don't know. That's just an armchair quarterback like myself, that watches football. But I really thought that's what play action is all about. I thought they set him up. All game they ran the ball, and boy, it would have been nice to see a play action on first down. I'm sure I'm thinking somebody would have bit and somebody would have got wide open.
Yeah, especially on second down too.
Yeah, I mean, first down they would have never seen it coming. I bet they would have. I just think they would have never saw it coming. But Chris is right. Could they go 3-1? I just don't. I think if they do that, that's a good thing that they're still competing and stuff. But I just don't. With a third string quarterback, that would be amazing. It would be a huge 4-game stretch.
Hey, Butch, well, thank you very much for calling. Really, really appreciate your contribution to the show.
All right, keep the good work, folks.
Thank you very much. What do you think about that, Chris? I think he's a little bit more pessimistic than you are. You still think that, like last year, they can turn it around?
Yeah, I do. I think they can, because I like what I saw in that game against Green Bay. I like what I saw on the offense, and I liked what I saw on the defense. And I think they can, continue that, get a little better. Okay, so the play calling could be better. Remember, that first down, they got 5 yards. So it was 2nd and 5. I think they were thinking this was the time Green Bay was thinking they were going to go play action. So they went back to the run again, maybe to try to get them sleeping and get one in there in the first down and then go from there. So maybe that's what they were thinking more than anything else. It didn't work out, but it is, that's how it goes. But yeah, I do see this team from what I saw and what I liked about the game itself, how they looked. Okay, all right, it's your third string quarterback. I get it. But, not making a lot of errors, mistakes, all kinds of things. That's going to happen in a game. You sharpen that up a little bit. You're going to be home for a few of those games. I think you can go 3-1 in the next 4. That's just my opinion.
All right, keep those calls coming at 774-762-6234. Let's see. Ryan is in Mattapoisett. You are next on Santos on Sports.
Yes, sir.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty well considering. Like I know that as the depth chart stands right now, this is probably going to change. We're in 4th place behind the Jets of all teams, but to be honest, I was actually rather impressed with the game on Sunday. The fact that we were able to play the Packers this close is kind of ridiculous. And to be honest, it's a 4th string quarterback kind of just thrown in there. Given those circumstances, I was very impressed with Zappy. It'll be interesting to see what he does with I don't know how practice is going right now. I don't know if Hoyer's going to be back, but I think it's going to be Zappy again, especially with the whole controversy now with the two concussion protocol. I feel like teams will be a bit more careful with that now. But if he gets the first team reps this week, it'll be interesting to see how he improves. I still think that the play calling is an issue. As the previous caller had alluded to, the play calling was very conservative, especially even when we had a chance to really go for the jugular, and go for the win. There, all you need to do is get into field goal range, and it was just inside zone, just run it into a bunch of big guys on the Packers side, and they're a pretty good run defense. I would say, even though we did fairly well on the ground. Ramondre Stevenson has been playing pretty well too. I gotta say that as well. But overall, and this Jack Jones kid taking that pick 6 before half, I wasn't expecting that from him. So I was very impressed especially with the defense on Sunday.
So what do you think,
I'm
Chris?
agreeing with you, Ryan. I like what I saw from this game, and I'll say it again. I took away some good positives about the Patriots watching it. A lot on the defense and even some offense that wasn't that bad. And when you go into Lambeau, not an easy place to play, to try to control an Aaron Rodgers. Like I said, they were taking away the short pass. They were forcing them to go longer. They put some pressure on them. They did some of the right things. So I think they can build off of that. Hopefully Zappy or whoever's in there can build off what's going on. And it seems like the players rallying around their quarterback. It doesn't matter who's in there. And they can move forward. And again, this stretch of 4 games, I think they can do well.
I mean, there is entirely a possibility there, but here's the big caveat to that. Whoever's in a quarterback, you got to protect them. The fact that we've probably gotten to this point with Bailey Zappi in the first place is because we can't protect what worth a damn.
Right.
Isaiah Wynn has been terrible. I kind of want Marcus Cannon to be in there at right tackle now because I think even just being a practice squad guy, he'd be more reliable than Wynn.
Yeah, it did seem like that. It seemed like after he came in, it was better.
Yeah, well, I thought Mac's injury was more of a kind of a roll-up kind of thing on him. That kind of happens a lot to quarterbacks. But the Hoyer one was a complete miss block, and he just got completely destroyed. So, obviously that can't happen. And when it was that easy, that had to be changed. And if they don't do anything about that, absolutely, they're going to have some quarterback issues. So the one with Mac, that stuff happens a lot to a lot of players, unfortunately. You get rolled up on and those things go. And the heat of the game, blitzing, all kinds of things happening. But the offensive line, I thought Strange looked good at times. He was really impressive in some of the run blocks, and they ran the ball very well. So, like I said, I took some positive things from it, and I think that will only help them coming up in the next 4 games.
Well, the thing that's really nice about it is Ryan tends to be our negative caller. I'm not going to call him Mr. Negative, but he's very conservative in his predictions. He predicted like a 6 or 7 win season for the Patriots. So I thought for sure you'd be complaining like I am, like, well, they should have done this and they should have done that, and they could have won that game, and one more play they could have won that game if they got a little more aggressive. And I know you're kind of agreeing on that, but I guess in totality of the game, when you look at the game, you're thinking, well, this team can just clean some things up a little bit. They could go on a little bit of a run in the middle of the season, like Chris is saying. Do you really think that's possible? That in this little section here with the Lions, the Browns, the Bears, the Jets, the Colts, even they can come out of there 3-1 or even run the table?
Maybe not running the table. I'm still like leaning towards the negative side, but just once I start thinking of like this game by itself, I was just impressed with what was going on. And to be perfectly honest with you, even though the Detroit Lions defense has been absolutely garbage this season, they've got the number one offense in the league. When we're talking about Jared Goff at quarterback, and they didn't have any weapons last week, and they still put up like 38 points. And with how bad Isaiah Wynn is doing, look for the number 2 overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson, to try and get after whoever's at quarterback. So I'm still leaning slightly toward the negative side there, but just from this week alone, very impressed. I'm surprised that the Packers didn't blow us out.
Well, what about Detroit? You think Detroit is going to give the Patriots some trouble?
I mean, defensively, possibly, because I just talked about it. They're the number 1 scoring offense in the league, and this is Jared Goff at quarterback.
I think a lot of these games, the Browns, you should beat them, but the Bears are terrible. But how about the Jets? The Jets
suck, yeah.
What about the Jets? The Jets are 2-2. I mean, is that like are they frauds? The Jets?
I think that's to be determined. Like the Browns choked away that game against the Jets at first, and Pittsburgh's just terrible on offense. So I think when they face the Jets, it'll be a real test to see if the Jets have improved. And listen, I never thought I'd be saying this as a Patriots fan, but at the same time, I kind of want the Jets to be good just because I really like their head coach. I've loved Robert Saleh since his San Francisco 49ers days as their defensive coordinator. And their GM has had some really good drafts in free agency in terms of just bringing a bunch of talent in, but it just hasn't come together yet. And Zach Wilson still looks like trash right now, but you never know.
Yeah, but when the Jets play the Patriots, you're not going to jump ship here or anything.
Oh no, absolutely not. I'll still root for the
No.
Hey, how about those Cowboys? Huh? Chris came on, and before I could even start complaining about the Patriots, he jumped right in about how the Cowboys are 3-1 over there in the NFC. How about that, huh?
Man, I mean, QB controversy, anyone? Cooper Rush has impressed the living hell out of me. I didn't think that he would end up being 4-0 as a starter. And to be honest, I still, even with him at quarterback, I still give him a really good chance against the Rams this coming week because the Dallas defense has been the most legit that I've seen it in years. The Rams' offensive line looks like absolute garbage. Stafford has looked terrible as of late. Like, I'm not counting the Rams out entirely, but I just give the Cowboys a really good chance because I feel like really where Kellen Moore comes to shine as a play caller is when Cooper Rush is in at quarterback. So I feel like when Dak is in there, he's just like constantly checking the passing plays. But with Cooper Rush in there, it's more balanced. We see more of Zeke and Tony Pollard and stuff like that. And then when they needed Cooper Rush to make a throw, he makes them.
So you're saying that when Dak is ready to come back, you would actually like them to consider leaving it the way it is?
I mean, the record goes to show.
Chris.
I like Dak as much as the next guy, but he's just been inconsistent ever since he's gotten paid.
No, but Chris, some guys do this, and in the big moment, I don't know. Chris is shaking his head the entire time.
I sound like a nutcase, huh?
He just disagrees with you. Dak, when Dak's ready, Dak comes in. It doesn't matter how many games Cooper Rush won. Chris, is that what you're saying?
Listen.
I am. I'm listening.
If you're getting paid all that money to sit on a bench and be a second string quarterback, that's not going to happen. This is Dak's team. They want it to be Dak's team. Jerry Jones loves Dak. It doesn't matter what Cooper does. Dak will be back when he is ready to throw the ball. It's as simple as that.
All right, but
And
wait a
there's
minute.
no controversy. He will be
Now
the
wait a
number one
minute.
quarterback.
I remember a guy.
Just don't rush him back because Cooper Rush has been holding the fort pretty well. Just don't rush him back because I don't want that getting hurt again.
I remember. Wait a minute.
But
I wanted to say I remember a guy by the name of Drew Bledsoe who was making all kind of money. He's making all kind of money. And then when the other guy went in there and started winning some games, he came back and said, "Wait a minute, hold the phone here. We don't care about who's getting paid what. We're trying to win some games over here." So if that other guy's undefeated, what do we care what Dak is making in the payroll?
Because Dak has shown that he can have some winningness to this team. When you saw Bledsoe, who couldn't do anything and was a bum at the time, and so they went with Tom Brady compared to going with Cooper Rush, because Cooper Rush is no Tom Brady. So everybody just settle down. It still will be Dak's team. It doesn't matter what he does, but it will be his team. I'm hoping that he can learn something from what he's watching and be better and realize that he has more than one option and not have to force things. Cooper's been doing a great job of reading. The first one's not there, I'll go to the second. Second one's not there, I'll go to the third. Compared to forcing it in like sometimes Dak does because he wants to make the perfect play. So it's still his team. It's going to be his team. No controversy. Dak Prescott is still the quarterback.
No, suppose the other guy's undefeated and he made some great decisions and beat some really good teams and they're on a roll. Like, why wouldn't you just say, hey, you know what? Let's just leave it alone right now. No?
Nope.
All right, Ryan, you got any final thoughts before we let you go?
Well, at the very least, Cooper Rush will be some really good trade bait. I'll say that.
Yep.
But just overall, very impressed with the Patriots just this week. Let's see if they can keep that rolling. Hopefully Matt Patricia's play calling does improve and gets a little bit more aggressive with whoever's in there at quarterback now.
Ryan.
Let's go Cowboys against the Rams too.
Ryan, let me ask you this, Ryan, before you go. Ryan, you there?
He's there.
Go right ahead.
Okay, Ryan. Eagles, Washington, the Vikings, and the Seahawks. Is the New England defense better than those four teams?
Are we talking overall against their offense, or are we talking about versus their
No,
defense?
I would say those teams that I said, the Eagles, Washington, the Vikings, and the Seahawks defense. Is New England's defense better than them?
I'd say their defense is better than the Seahawks. The Eagles to me have been something else, just overall.
Okay. Because those are the four teams. Those are the four teams that Detroit beat. And if you remember, the Eagles had like a 28-point lead on them when Detroit came back, and then they beat Washington, scored 36 on them, who I don't think is very good. And then they lost to the Vikings, and then they had that game with the Seahawks, who I don't think is very good on defense either. So I know what you're saying, that they're number one in the NFL, in offense. I'm very curious to see how they play this week against New England's defense and how New England handles Jared Goff and what Belichick can do with that offense.
Jared Goff, not the last time we played him in 2020. They just completely shredded us that year. But I would see like a game plan that is maybe similar to that of the Super Bowl years back.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Ryan, we really appreciate the call. You're picking the Patriots over the Lions, right?
I'm leaning towards them this week, yeah.
Leaning? They should blow them out.
I mean, I love for them to blow them out, but I don't know. I still find it being close. But, if Mac Jones or Brian Hoyer were there, then I'd say maybe they blow them out. But more towards Mac Jones. But the fact that we got Bailey Zappi in there, he's kind of like the unknown there. I don't know how well he's going to fare. Hopefully he'll be better with a full week of practice, but it's an unknown right now. So I'm thinking it more of a close game.
All right, Ryan. Thank you very much for your call as usual.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right,
Thanks, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, being a little a little on the positive side today. Well, that's good. Talking about they're not going to blow the Lions out and make these predictions and stuff like that. I'm not sure they can blow anybody out because of the way they play. They don't really put a lot of points up unless you get a really bad defense and a third string quarterback, at least right now. I mean, most of these games are probably going to be these grinded out kind of low 20s kind of scores. You know what I mean? Isn't that what we're looking at?
Well, it can be. I mean, it depends on penalties, turnovers. Those are the things that really create high scoring games. Special teams play. They had a pick six the other day. All of that really comes in compared to we started at the 20, we went 80 yards, we scored. It took, 9 minutes off the clock, and then it's kind of that kind of a game. So it depends on, the mistakes that happen during the game.
All right, we got a comment here from Florida. One of
Yep.
our followers, Lorianne LaFleur Alston, who's called the show before.
Oh,
Tom
she's
Brady
safe
is
down there.
right, absolutely. So our hearts and prayers go out to the people down there in Florida, especially in the Fort Myers area.
Yes.
Lorianne LaFleur Alston
Yes.
says that Tom Brady is in for the fight of his life. News Today says Giselle has hired a divorce lawyer and, is probably going to start some proceedings there. Being that Brady played for the Patriots so long and he lost the last two games, what do you think about him unretiring? Supposedly did it without his wife's approval and reneged on what they had agreed to. Now, we don't usually get into the personal lives of people, but, Lorianne is, a Patriots fan, but then when Tom went down to Florida, a lot of those snowbirds that moved down there, they wanted to see him win down there too, and they've been following him. But now this whole thing with Super G, Giselle wanted him to retire. He wouldn't. He wants to go for one more trophy. What do you think about all that?
Well, the story did come out supposedly in the New York Post today about what you had just read from our caller. But, listen, football is one thing, personal lives are another thing. And you never know what's happening behind the scenes until something comes out like this, obviously, in the media. So I don't have all the details of what Tom actually said to her and what she said to him and said, this is what I want for my future. This is what I want for our kids. This is what I want for us. I don't have all the details on that. But it sounds like she's holding her guns, Paul, and sticking to him and saying, hey, you violated what we wanted. And this is what I'm doing about it. So, it's part of life that every pro player has to deal with. And sometimes, when life is going well at home, things are going good on the field. Sometimes when things are bad at home, it's not going good on the field. And right now, Tampa's been struggling too. So it hasn't been the Brady that we know. And maybe when he had to take some of that time off earlier, that was, some of the reasons why. But, it's just another part of life. I'm sure Tom will handle it the way he always does with class and do the right thing.
Yeah, those things are always sad to see, no matter, whether you're, a multi-millionaire
Yep.
or whatever, those personal things can be painful and everything else. The general story is that, she kind of wants him to say, okay, you played all this time, you got all these trophies, you're the greatest of all time, and we all know super competitive people. And I know Chris is a competitive person, but somebody like Tom Brady, he just is never sad. He just wants to win another one, and then he wins that another one, and then he wants to win another one, and then you say, okay, now you want to know? No, I want to win another one. Remember how they always said, "What's your favorite trophy?" And always says the next one. So I mean, we're talking about this guy's super duper hyper competitive, and that's why he's the best. But at the same time, a guy like that, he just won't stop. He just wants to keep playing.
Paul, I can agree to that. But listen, as well as I do. Do you think Tom Brady has anything more to prove
No,
in the NFL?
no,
I,
absolutely not.
I don't think at all. He could go out in the sunset and he could have just took his way and said, "This is how I'm going to do it." Retire, finish it up, and everybody would have clapped and waited for the Hall of Fame to come up. And when it's his turn, he's right top of the list and the best quarterback ever in the history of the game. So to do that and at the same time maybe ruin a family life, which sounds like this is what's happening. that's kind of difficult. But sometimes stubbornness conquers all, and maybe that's got the best of them.
Well, we have a comment here, by the way, from Butch. He says that Dak couldn't lead a pack of hungry dogs to a meat wagon. Sounds like he's with Ryan on this.
Well, listen, and Butch knows that, and I've told him in the past, I am not a Dak fan when it comes to leading this team to winning the Super Bowl. I don't think he has the intangibles that I like in a quarterback to lead a team to the Super Bowl. That's just my opinion. I think he can get there, but I don't think he can bring them over the top. And I've said that before many a times, and I've told Butch that too in years past. So I think he can lead them and get them there, but I don't think he has what it takes to take it to the next level and win a Super Bowl. That's just my opinion. Unfortunately, I'm not hearing you right now, Paul. I'm missing you.
It needs more time.
All right, hang on a second. We're going to do it again. Hello, El Productus in Boston. You're on Santos on Sports. How are you?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm rolling with the third string quarterback, man.
You're rolling with the third string quarterback.
Yeah, I'm rolling with him, man, because he's showing the world he don't belong on the bench.
What do you think about that, Chris? He says that.
So you think
he likes him?
Yeah, I like the way.
So he thinks Zappe did enough. You think Zappe did enough in that showing against Green Bay to keep him?
What you say?
You think Zappe did enough during that Green Bay game to keep him starting as long as he can until Matt comes back?
Yeah, I think he did enough as far as he let the team know, like, we can play. We can be better than what we are. You know, they just happened to lose that game. But what I seen in that type of game is how he had, like, the energy. He had everybody pumped up. And that's what I think the team needs to make it to the playoff.
All right, so you thought Zappe gave him a little zip and a little spark, and, took a Green Bay team that a lot of people think are at least in the conversation to go to the Super Bowl right down to the wire. So you look at that and you say, wait a minute, there might be onto something here.
Yes, that's exactly how I'm looking at it. You took the words right out of my mouth.
But, he's still the third string quarterback. So, like, when Mac Jones heals and comes back, you still have to figure that you got to go with Mac, right? I mean, you're not saying there's a quarterback controversy here, are we?
Well, I'm going to roll with whoever's winning. The coaches, they always will make that decision. But, in some games, it's like this. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, if he happens to come out and, let's say he win the next two games, or something like that, and it's just rolling good. And then they come back, Matt come back, they start him and we lose, it's going to be a big controversy and a debate. If he can, like I said, win the next two games or show that, hold on, we're on to something. If he can show the world like how I feel he did at this game to keep improving like that, I think the Patriots going to win more games than people think they're going to win.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your contribution today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. You always know that.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, I don't know if he was listening before, but I saw Chris laughing when he said, "Hey, if the guy's winning, just leave him. Just roll with it. That could happen in Dallas. It could be one of those roll with it. You know what I mean? But certainly, I mean, Zappe played fine, but I don't think he's at the level of Mac. I mean, Mac made some mistakes and everything else, but obviously, you're going to go back to Mac. Now, suppose this quarterback goes out there and you're playing against the Lions, Browns. Let's say Mac Jones isn't ready to come back until 3 or 4 games from now, and Zappe gets in there, he gets comfortable, he's following what the coaches are saying. The Patriots offense is cranking it out. It seems to be, rolling on all cylinders. Could you foresee a situation where people go, no, maybe we should just leave it alone for right now?
Well, then why wouldn't you see that already and Zappe be the starter in week 1? If it's that good and you think he's that good, then he should have been starting in week 1 over Mac Jones or even over Brian Hoyer. And he wasn't even number 2, Paul. He was number 3. So I mean, I
Well, but
don't
nobody
get it.
saw him in a game before, you know what I mean? That's so you see him in a
Well,
game, he
sure
gets
you
on
have.
the
I
road.
mean, we've seen him in preseason games. He
Right.
played a lot during that time, and they saw something from him, and yet they still put Brian Hoyer number 2 in the pecking order. And so, I mean, you have to see what he's done in practice. I'm sure he's gone up against the ones, and they're going to sit back and say, "Oh yeah, this guy's got something. He's something special." And we're going to bring him in when we need to, and then use him at the gun. So, even if they win a couple of games, I really would have to think about how well he did during these games. 25 for 30, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and something really, really that sparked me to say, "Whoa, you got some controversy against Mac Jones here." But I'm not seeing that yet, just from what I saw in that Green Bay game. No, not at all.
So you think these fans, whether it's that last caller or some of the people that I've heard on the Boston stations and stuff like that, people have gotten a little zappy happy a little bit before they should, right?
Well, no, they should, because this is the guy that's leading your team for the next couple of weeks until you're healthy with your other guys. So why wouldn't you be zappy happy? You're going to say, okay, well, it doesn't matter. As Bill says, next man up. Well, here's the next man up. And so Patriots fans should be excited to see what this kid can do. And hopefully it's something that wins ball games for him.
All right. So now, what do you think about the Lions game?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I like them to beat Detroit. I think Bill will have a plan to slow down Jared Goff, and I think their Patriots run game will be fine, because I think they can score on Detroit. I don't think Detroit's defense is good at all, and I think they can find ways to score in Detroit. So the defense really has to do the job just to slow Detroit down, which I think they will, and I see them winning this game.
All right, 774-762-6234. If you'd like to jump in the conversation, we'll have an absolute blast talking about Patriots and the rest of the NFL. What do you think about the Jets? I mean, are they like a fraud team, or are you looking at them like, gee, they've improved enough whereby, maybe there isn't a lot of distance. Right now, the Patriots are looking up at them, but you have to figure that the Patriots are still better than the Jets. Are you worried about these games? They got 2 games against the Jets within the next 5 games. And those are games that we penciled in at the beginning of the year. We're just looking and go, that's a win, that's a win, that's a win. But I don't know, man. Could you see the Jets having a good game and the Patriots kind of blowing it against a team like the Jets?
Again, anybody can beat anybody on Sunday in the NFL, and Zach Wilson is not a slouch. They got the Hall kid, they got the Carter kid at running back. 2 good guys that share time that are not too bad. I do like the head coach. He came over from San Fran. I think he offers a lot. He's a high energy guy, and so I think their defense will kind of play. I could see the Patriots splitting with them. I really can. It doesn't mean they're going to win both. I could see them maybe winning one and then losing one, or the other way around. So, the Jets are okay. They're doing all right.
It's not the automatic,
No,
hey, just pencil it in like it was.
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, that makes it a little scary. I I don't know. It just
Well,
feels
no
like
offense, but again, you guys are used to been penciling in for the last 20 years, teams that you could go right through. Well, unfortunately, the last couple of years, things have changed around, and we talked about it, and you sent it to me on Sunday. There's a lot more parity in the league, and so now that's nice to see, and teams around. Bills had a chance to lose on Sunday. The Ravens probably should have won that game. I don't know what Harbaugh was thinking. I mean, you got to kick the field goal there, go up by 3, and trust your defense. You've only given up, 17 points at that time. I don't know what he was thinking going forward on 4th. And then Lamar makes the worst error I've seen in a long time, and just coughs one up for no reason at all, and just did not see it that way. So, a lot more parity, and that's nice to see in the NFL.
well, we got a message here from the great city of Chicago, Illinois.
Uh-oh.
And it says that Zappy is better than macaroni. And
Yep.
he also says, this is Mark, he says, I am Zappy happy.
Yep.
I am Zappy happy, he
Yep.
says. So there's
Okay.
another one. We got 2. We got El Product in Boston, Zappy happy.
Yep.
We got a message here from Chicago, Zappy happy. Hey, I don't know. I will say this. If somebody's winning I mean, against crappy teams, maybe not so much, but whether it's Dallas, I don't know whatever we're talking about. You play, we win, you play again. That's kind of how I look at it.
Well, Mark's been calling him macaroni for a few weeks now, and that's what he considers Mac Jones is probably arm strength or just the way he goes out there and doesn't perform up to the standards. I think it takes a little bit more than just Mac Jones alone. Obviously, I think there's still some sketchiness in the offensive play calling. I think there's still some sketchiness up front in the offensive line. And then we've even seen some issues in wide receiver. And again, where are your tight ends? Not seeing any production. 5 catches from Henry, 7 catches from Smith all year long. I don't like it. They need to improve themselves, and they're not doing it. So it's not just Mac Jones. There's a lot more to that, in my opinion.
Smith, excuse me, kind of limped off the field.
Sure did.
Hunter Henry, man, he was like kind of like a go-to guy at a bunch of touchdowns last year. And this year, they just can't seem to get him the ball now. I think Bill Belichick was asked during one of those press conferences, and his argument is, hey, we throw to whoever's open. So if they have this all situational, if they're covering and they're playing a particular type defense where, the open guy is a different guy than that, we throw to the open guy. We don't start the game and say, hey, we're going to throw to Hunter Henry. Or we don't start the game and say, hey, we're going to throw to Aguilar. If Aguilar's open, we throw to him, depending on, what the read is and everything else. But I will say that, I mean, so what if Gronkowski, is playing and they're covering him? You're going to throw to him. Well, you got to find a way to get him open. You're going to find a way to get him the ball if he's a playmaker. And I still don't understand Bourne. I just don't understand why they're not using him more. You know what I mean? I think there was a couple plays there where he might have been open. Aguilar, like sometimes he makes a great catch, but then he missed a bad ball there right through his hands. Hey, you can't have that. You know what I mean? These guys are not that good. But again, getting back to your original point, where are the tight ends and where is Bourne? And you take that away from even the third string quarterback. I mean, it just doesn't feel right. It feels like that there's players there that they're not getting the most out of them.
Well, and then it goes back to Paul. Was it wrong not to maybe secure Josh McDaniels and how important he was? Because what's happening with this offense now? And so, when he let go, a lot of things went the opposite way. So how big is that? How much does that come back to haunt you? And what you've seen with his success as an offensive coordinator and what he's done with Mac compared to what's going on now and what Patricia's doing. So, a lot going on, but it takes more than one person. It's 11 guys. It's an offense. It's a group got to work together to get the job done.
All right. So 774. Oops, excuse me. 774-762-6234. If you'd like to contribute to Santos on Sports, we're having a great time today talking about the Patriots and this last loss against Green Bay when they just had them on the ropes. Where if they could have just won that game, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and all that. I mean, imagine if they were 500 right now going into this stretch of games. Wow, we'd be like, wow, maybe they can fight for a playoff spot. It just doesn't feel. I mean, it's early in the season. You're absolutely right. They could reel off some of these games and get right back to 500. You really only need to be a game or two over 500. Given the fact that you have all this parity, to have a shot at the playoffs. So if you can just get back to 500,
were 1-3 last year. They were 1-3 last year and went.
Yeah, but you can't do that every year. You can't be doing that all the time.
Of course not. No, absolutely you can. And then the strength of schedule, you got to look at that and the teams that you're playing against. But it gives you some confidence to say, hey, we've been here before. Let's see if we can do it again. I know it's going to be difficult, but the next 4 games, I think they can go 3-1. It's just my opinion.
All right. We had a call coming in, and I think I accidentally cut them off. So let's see. Hello, are you calling for Santos on Sports?
Yes, I am.
All right. Yes. Good afternoon. What's going on?
Hey, gentlemen. I'm sitting here and I'm watching this thing with a Patriots, right? And it's real simple. By the last preseason game, they had already lost that offensive line in the locker room. These guys are not believing that Patricia, who's a defensive coach, 99.9% of his career, is the right guy, or Joe Judd. You got Andrews, who's probably one of the smartest linemen in the last 15 years, and he can't bring these guys around. And it's just not working. They're not believing it. They're not buying it. And worst of all, if and when Matt comes back, I hope he doesn't turn into Andrew Luck. If you don't got a lineman that can protect a halfway decent quarterback that's got a chance, you're risking him getting hurt.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you there. And, that's what Bill's job was, to express to these guys, hey, listen, Joe's been here before. Matt's been here before. This is why we brought him in. This is what we're going to do. And you need to buy into it. Now, have they? That's tough to say. And what we've seen in preseason and what we've seen in these games here, are they confident in it? That's the key. Mentally, can I be confident in what this offense can do? I don't think they are, as you say. I agree with you there. It starts with the offensive line. They have to be on the same page, protecting their quarterback, opening holes for running backs, and obviously giving Matt time to throw the ball. It starts with them. And if you don't have them, then you don't have much of an offense.
Yeah, some of those games, especially the early games, look like Mac Jones was getting killed out there. So now he gets hurt. Harder goes in there. He gets creamed. He gets hurt. Now you get the third guy in there. I mean, I think the offensive line was better in the last game, but Caller, like you said, some of those early games, the quarterback was getting killed out there.
And staying with football, but outside of the Patriots, the passing of Bobby Wagner, what a great person, what a great power example for youth in the South Coast. Went through college ranks at Ohio State, went on to NFL, came back, did so much in our community. Last time I saw him was like 6 years ago at the Grid Eye in Hall of Fame dinner.
Well, be looking for it, because about, I'm going to say 10, maybe 12 years ago, I interviewed Bobby on my old show, New Bedford Connections, and I found the disc, and I'm going to be posting that. And I was watching it.
Awesome.
Oh, I was watching it, and it was just great. We had film of him playing in the NFL and Ohio State, and we were talking to him. And, he suffered a little bit in his last few years in terms of a mental cognitive ability, which is a terrible thing. Happened to my mother, too. But when I interviewed him, it was, before that. So look for that. It was a real gentleman, and somebody that you say came from New Bedford, ended up in the Chicago Bears. And anytime somebody like that makes it that far, Ohio State, big time college, and then, of course, in the NFL, everybody in New Bedford was always proud of him.
At any time, like you would go to the Grid Eye dinner there before Thanksgiving game, you would see him like they would not just call up the name, but he would sit back, especially looking at the young kid. You could see that smile, that pride.
Yeah,
He's looking at these younger kids and going, "Yep, I was there. This is where it begins." And always a pleasure, gentlemen.
All right, yeah, thank you very much for calling. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, that's absolutely correct. I'm glad he brought that up. The passing of Bobby Watkins, one of our great players, or some great player that came out of New Bedford and made some great contributions to the community, of course, making it to the NFL. And as I said, we're going to be posting an interview that we had the great fortune of doing about 10 years ago or so on one of my local TV shows. So that was a lot of fun. And hopefully folks will take a look at that who are big Bobby Watkins fans and really enjoy the chat that we had with him. But obviously a nice thing to have mentioned there, Chris.
Yeah, and New Bedford High actually did their health, strength, and conditioning weight room, named it after Bobby Watkins. I learned a lot of stories when I was a kid from my grandfather, who would talk about how great Bobby Watkins were. And I've had the pleasure of meeting him. As you know, Paul, we do the Gridiron Hall of Fame for the New Bedford Cable Network. So I have spoken to him quite a few times during the time, couple of days before Thanksgiving. So at that Hall of Fame over at the Century House, an outstanding man. And, again, nothing but praise and what he had to say about the younger generation that he was there for to listen to their stories.
Well said. Well said. Well, let's take this opportunity now to thank our sponsors, Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River, citywide glass with not one, not two, but 3 locations to serve you. One in Dartmouth, one in Fall River, one in Taunton. Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville, where you can play tennis, you can play pickleball, and a whole lot more. And John Seed, attorney at law, 156 8th Street in New Bedford, and you can check out his details at johnseedlaw.com. And, Chris and I have talked about getting our sponsors on sometime to chat with them and get them on the phone. John Seed said we give him a call sometime and chat a little bit. Of course, he was a quarterback of the New Bedford High football team, did very well, played baseball too, very athletic a conscious person who has a pretty good resume out there. Hit a ball off the Green Monster during a state championship game at Fenway Park that I had the great pleasure of covering. He just missed a home run. Balistracci put one in the net, but John Seedy hit one off the wall. Didn't quite make it over the monster. But hey, if you can say you hit a ball off the Green Monster, that's not bad either.
No, it's not. And a great bunch of guys that had gone to that and what they did there to represent New Bedford, and he continues to represent the city in a positive way. So great to have him as a sponsor, and I hope to talk to my other two guys, Paul, and maybe get them to call in or even be on our show as well, which is Scotty Lopes and Rich Anthony, one from the Lakeville Athletic Club and the other one from Scotty's Pub.
I'm a spoiled Patriots fan here, as you said, complaining about the 1-3. I know you're kind of enjoying this a little bit. I can tell. But anyway, I'm looking at the schedule here. I'm not going to be satisfied with I'm looking at the schedule. I want them to run the damn table here. I want them to beat the Lions, the Browns, the Bears, the Jets, get right back to right over 500. I mean, if they win one and lose one, and lose one and win one, no, that's not good enough. I want to see them run the damn table. The Lions, the Browns, the Bears, the Jets, even the Colts. They should be able to run the table. If they can't run the table against this schedule right here, then they're not going anywhere. They're not even going to make the playoffs. How's that?
Well, I listen. I said they're 3-1. That's what I'm predicting there. So I think they'll be 4-4 after that time.
Okay. All right. We'll see. My prediction of that they were going to win 9 games is not looking too good right now. But we'll see. You never know. You never go. Any time to go. I guess I'll have to stop watching the Dallas Cowboys. Which I do watch.
No. You don't have to stop watching them.
I'm going to start watching them more.
Oh no, you can keep watching them as much as you want. That's fine.
Yeah, me and Ryan, we're going to be rooting for Cooper so that when Dak is ready to come back, he's going to be undefeated. He's going to be undefeated.
Man, I've been hearing this for 3 weeks. That Cooper Rush will take Dak's place, and I'm going, I don't know what you people are thinking, because you're going to have to get by Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones is
really
not
likes
thinking
Dak, huh?
Cooper Rush. Oh, paying him $40 million or whatever it is for a reason.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Chris. That was a lot of fun. We had a fun show today. I'm glad we were able to get this one in because after that game on Sunday night, man, I was all wired up. That was exciting. I had more feeling of excitement watching that game than I've had in a long time. It was just gut wrenching, the game, the way it was so close and everything. That's what makes the NFL fun when you're a team that is not like the old Patriots, All right. Thank you very much, Chris. Have a great afternoon. And for Santos on Sports, for Chris Santos, I'm Paul Santos. Have a great afternoon and